Okay, hello, welcome. I'm going to do a little bit of analysis based on the England versus Ghana match tomorrow night. Now, this is the lineup that started Ghana's first game against Panama and England's game against Croatia. Now, I do think England makes some changes. Now, first of all, I think Gordon makes the way to the bench. I think John Stones makes way to the bench. And also Nico Riley makes way to the bench. Now, who comes on and replaces them? Some might think Marcus Rashford, but first of all, Gahey comes in at centre back. I think up against players like Semenyo, players like Sulemana, you want someone who's better defensively, one on one, and can physically match up with someone like Semenyo. I think Gahey does that a lot better than John Stones at this stage of his career. So I would go for Gahey and Konza as my centre back pairing. Left back, I would go ahead and put Jed Spence in. We saw when he came on against Croatia, he was making runs constantly down like this. It was on the other side, so it might be a little bit different playing on the left. But the reason I have him in there is because I would go ahead and start Morgan Rogers at left wing. Now, Rogers is obviously not a natural left winger, so he will pick up spaces in this kind of area here. So you want someone who can go on the outside, which Spence can at a much higher level than Nico O'Reilly, because Nico O'Reilly wants to occupy that same space in the pocket between the lines. But if you have Morgan Rogers in there, you cannot do both. So if we look at the issues England will have in that breakdown, is you'll often have Bellingham and Kane as a front two together. Rogers again occupying that space, and Madueke will be nice and wide to kind of open up this little channel in here. Reece James will likely invert here and alternate between these two spots here. Now, often this winger will press Reece James and he will have the quality to find a pass down this line here for Bellingham or Kane to make that run into the channel. Now, where you've got Rice and Anderson, two players who like to get on the ball quite a lot, Rice will probably be the one that sits up a little bit higher, similar to the positions that Rogers will take up on the other side. This allows Spence the opportunity to go further down the left-hand side, right down to the channel to drag both the left back or the right back and right winger of Ghana into that wide channel there. Now, in this position, you then have Gahey and Konza who can both split, and Anderson can be the dictator on the ball. So the balls here from Anderson across to Gahey will force the runs of Semenyo and Ayew across into this area here. Sulemana will probably give Spence a little bit of room because he will be cautious of Morgan Rogers in this area and wherever he moves to. Now, if you're Mensah, you then have a real issue about whether you watch the overlap of Jed Spence or do you follow Rogers inside and trust your winger, Sulemana, to follow Jed Spence run in behind. Now, I don't think he will. I think he will pass on Rogers to one of the midfield two, which then opens up some space for Kane and Bellingham. Now, in those situations, when the ball goes to Marc Guéhi over here, as Semenyo is travelling across, you will likely see this kind of action. Jed Spence going further, Morgan Rogers coming short, and then Harry Kane or Jude Bellingham picking up the ball in this area here. So if you imagine, Jed Spence makes the run up in that area there. Mensah then follows. Sulemana will probably start to follow. And Rogers will come in here. And Uwasu and Sulemana will kind of both be covering him. Guehi will then have the opportunity to find this dribble past Semenyo to hopefully engage one of the midfielders in this space here. Likely Uwasu on this side and Urenki on the other side. The moment Guehi picks up the ball here and he's closed down by that defender, he's got to look for the pass here or here, with two options going either side. So you've got Rodgers as a short pass, you've got Spence in that area there, you've got Kane's feet, and you've got Bellingham. All from one little drive. Now, will we get a lot of opportunities like that? Potentially not, because Ghana will likely sit in quite a low block. So the chances that we get this moment have to be executed properly. So as Guehi gets into this position here, Rodgers is smart enough, strong enough, and comfortable carrying the ball to where if Sulemana is on his left shoulder, Rodgers will be able to drive directly into this area here, which again will commit one of the centre backs, freeing Kane up essentially, or Jude Bellingham. Now, if Rodgers drives up that line, tracked by Sulemana, Owusu will be committed to Guehi already, and he will then be the tracking man. Then Rodgers will either have to go on the outside of the centre back or look to cut it back into Harry Kane or Bellingham, who you trust to score in a one-on-one situation in the box. Let's say in the second half, when England want to make a couple of subs, you're going to have a lot of the ball, you're going to have a lot of good positions to hurt the opposition. So, a couple of changes I think may happen is Kobbie Mainoo comes in for Anderson, Eze comes in for Declan Rice, and then you either have Rodgers and Saka with Harry Kane up front, or you potentially look for someone like Anthony Gordon or Rashford if Ghana start chasing the game. If they do, you would look for one of them guys to catch the opposition on the counter attack, and then England will be best in that transition moments. But if you imagine Ghana sat back defending a 1-0 deficit, or perhaps they get an early goal and they just decide to sit back, Eze and Rodgers will be so crucial in their interchange. Rodgers coming inside and Eze going out while having Jed Spence available to overlap will unlock so many different opportunities, especially when you have Kobbie Mainoo essentially, who's so comfortable on the ball, so comfortable at driving through the defensive lines, and then is capable of finding the passes through to Bellingham, Rodgers, Eze, or Kane. Now, Saka will be a question mark about whether he features, but if you do have Bukayo Saka on that side, Reece James is likely to move higher up the pitch and especially overlap. So then you have two high and wide fullbacks, and you will likely have a front five consisting of Saka, Bellingham, Kane, Rodgers, and Eze, and you trust Mainoo, Guehi, and Konza to find progressive passes through the lines. Now, what does all of that actually mean? I think England end up winning 4-0. I think England go all out for this game and hope that Panama is a free game to get other players' fitness levels. So players like Ivan Toney, Ollie Watkins, perhaps Gerald Kwanzaa, even Kobbie Mainoo was potentially starting that final game along with Eze. These players are going to be important off the bench as you get into the later stages because they all provide a different kind of profile on the pitch. So if you've got Eze who hasn't played for 4 games and you want him to come on and affect a game in the round of 16 or the quarterfinals, it'll be very hard for him to adapt to the World Cup speed, intensity, the heat in the matches. So I think England go all out for this game. Ghana looked very poor against Panama. I think England win 4-0, and then we go ahead and play our so-called second team in the final game against Panama, and England top the group with 9 points.